All right, and we are live. Welcome back to another episode here on the Esports Economics Podcast. Lindsay, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm super excited for this episode. I've been looking forward to this one for a while now. We had to reschedule last week, so building up that anticipation.
Yes.
I'm super excited to get into this one. And first of all, I appreciate you even taking the time to come on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me. And thanks for being so flexible from last week, of course.
No worries. But first of all, as we're getting into the episode, just give everyone an idea of who you are, what you do, and how you got into esports social media.
Okay. Well, hi guys. My name is Lindsay Caudill. My title is social media manager, and I work at Envy Gaming, which is obviously the LLC for Team Envy, who is a parent company of Dallas Fuel and Dallas Empire. This is my sidekick, Braxley. He's 10 months old and he loves being held, so I apologize for distracting. So basically, I do a lot of different things under the social media hat: community management, social creation, social managing, sponsorship activations through social. Just about anything you can think of, we do it. Me and the social team. And how I got there was, okay, so it's a really long story, but it's a good story, but it's really long.
Yeah.
I always have to
feel free to, you can
that.
take the whole hour on the story.
Okay.
It'll make my job really easy.
Okay, cool. Because I always feel like I have to preface this and tell you the story is really long. It's a good story. It's just a really long one. So I actually was a really big Overwatch and video game enthusiast up until, well, I mean, I still am, but up until I wanted to make it more concrete to kind of get involved in the esports. And so I went to University of Texas at Dallas, aka UTD or aka UT Dallas, just in case people out there are watching and have no idea what that is. But anyways, so they started a varsity esports program in August of 2018, so the fall semester of 2018. And I saw it plastered around the school, some flyers and everything else that they had around the union and things like that, that I was like, holy crap, this is my time. This is it. This was made for me. I have to get involved. I have to get involved some way, somehow. And of course, at the time, the tryouts were for Diamond Plus, but I didn't play on PC, and I knew that was a requirement. So at first I asked if I could try out, because I was just I'm probably not good enough, but why not, right? Anyways, follow your dreams, go do it, go big or go home, even if you suck.
There you go.
We've all been there. And that's me.
Yeah, I wanted to play in the NBA for a little bit there. Quickly realized that wasn't happening.
Yeah, it's highly competitive. Yeah, so even in the esports world, it's crazier because you're okay, well, the internet people are better than I am, of course, because you play with people on the internet, and these people are way better than me. So I was Diamond and I was on console, and I probably put in 700 hours of Overwatch at this time. So at first I was I wouldn't really want to try out, and it wasn't console, of course. So I was okay, well, if you have anything else, can I will literally be the water girl. I will be the water girl. I'll do anything. I just really want to be involved. Since it was the first time ever really heard of something more serious being established in within my life, because most of the time I played games recreationally, just for fun, right? And of course, in comp, but that's not the same as joining a team or creating your own team and a little community and things like that. So that's what I really wanted to do. Lo and behold, I couldn't try out. Haha, no one would have guessed that, right? Had to be on PC. But they did have analyst positions where they were hiring 3 analysts for the Overwatch team. And then they were also hiring 3 analysts, I think, for the League team, because those were the 2 teams that they were going to have when they first opened, was Overwatch and League. So I interviewed for the analyst position, which is really cool because it's actually, and still to this day it still is, but it's actually considered a student position within the university. So you can technically get paid from school government money, if you kind of qualify. So it's that student job position within the school. So you technically work for the school. Which was cool because it wasn't a lot, of course, whatsoever, but it was still something, especially, I mean, considering if it was paid or not, I would have done it, right? If it were free, I would still would have done it. But I got hired as an analyst, and I was the first one out of 2 girls actually in the entire program at first. And now we have plenty of other ladies that represent UTD. But anyways, besides that, that's how I basically got my first foot in. So at that point, we started having practices probably like 4 to 5 times a week that I was there. I was at every single day. They usually lasted about 3 to 4 hours. So they did take up a lot of time. Yeah. Which was cool though, because I loved it. I had a lot of fun with it. It was really enjoyable. We got to go to LANs, which was my first kind of pro gaming experience. I told one of the girls from the Game Hers Awards, because I just talked about this. I was like, I cannot believe I had never been to a gaming LAN before. Like, I had been living under a rock. I was like one of those people that just played games and never went and like explored it in person, you know?
Yeah,
like,
I still need to go to one whenever this whole situation blows over.
Yeah,
but,
you have
definitely
to.
want it. Yeah,
Life-changing.
That's definitely on my bucket list.
It's life-changing. And that's why I was like, wow, I couldn't believe I never did this before. You know, I haven't gone to anything in person quite yet. But I also feel like I wasn't like truly, I was into esports, but not enough where I kept up with everything. I just kept up with like the home teams, like MV, for instance. Like I'm a Dallas native. So of course, like I root for all the Dallas teams. So like the Mavericks and Stars, and of course the Cowboys. Love the Cowboys. But
tough
so of
season.
course, it's been tough seasons for like
we'll skip
10
over
years.
That
Like, what is it? Not a tough season. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But of course, like I was naturally an Envy fan because it was, you know, the Dallas esports work. So I was a fan of it. And I only really knew about Envy. I didn't really know much else about esports. So when the Dallas Fuel came about, of course I was a fan because it was, you know, Dallas native. So our first LAN was actually at, it was in September 2018, and it was at, it's called OP Live, and it had Dallas Fuel. I think they co-hosted it. And I was like, first, like freaking out. I was like, oh my God, big fan. Like, oh my God, you know? And it was really cool because I was like, again, like I'd never been to a LAN before or in-person esports event. And I was really excited. I was like, wow, how can I have been missing out on all these years? Like, this is nuts, you know? And especially because like I was fangirling at the time because we got to meet like Arrow and Tickety, and you know, the rest is history at that point, because it was just like, now like those two guys I consider like my friends and like really nice colleagues that I've had the pleasure of working with. But like back then, if you would have told me like you're gonna be working at Envy like alongside Fuel, like I would have like smacked you across the face and been like, haha, you know, hush up.
Like, yeah, definitely.
Like smack that silly out of you. Stop being silly. But here I am. And so at that event, the players got Fuel bags and Envy bags, and they had jerseys in them. So me and Eric Auberg, who is the student director of esports, he was also one of the other hires for UTD, and he basically just kind of like ran social media for esports. Basically just did everything that like Coach Greg / Director Greg didn't or couldn't do, because he was like literally doing every single thing, like coaching all the teams, and it was crazy. Like he's a nut. Like I applaud him for that. But me and Eric were like, we really want a bag. Like we want a bag. Like you get a jersey. Yeah. This is crazy. Like we want a jersey. Like if we don't get a jersey, like we riot. And so we went up to like one of the event people who were handing out bags, and we're like, hey. And they were like, what's up? And we're like, we really want a bag. Like if you have extras, we would love one. Just, you know, keep this in mind. And they were actually really nice. And they said, yeah, like if we have any extra at the end of the day, I'll come find you guys and I'll give you one. And lo and behold, they had one. They had a couple extra.
There you go.
Yes. So the part of this story is important because so now me and Eric have Envy and Fuel jerseys. Okay. And so after that, coolest LAN ever, our first LAN, got so excited. It was awesome. Loved it. And then we went to, it wasn't like a LAN next. It was it was a CSGO final or a major, one of the two. I don't remember if it was a actual final or if it was just a major of the final. I think it might have been the fourth major. Anyways, I don't remember off the top of my head. It was held at the Esports Stadium in Arlington.
Okay. So
being a student at UTD was really cool if you're in the esports program, because sometimes we got free tickets to like certain esports events, such as this one. So we went, like there was like a whole group of us, like the Overwatch people. We went and we all wore matching Envy jerseys that we got from the bag. Of course, at a CSGO event where, of course, Envy's not playing, you know, or of course, because, yeah, we're, you know, just haven't hit the CSGO mark for a while, right? But why not?
Yeah.
Like we were like, let's support anyways, right? Not very good at CSGO, but support them anyways because we're in Dallas. Like, fuck it, why not, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And good thing we did because eventually we were all just like hanging out, eating and just like watching the game and walking around, and we actually get spotted by an MV play. Woo! Yeah. So the jersey has everything to do with the story. So Justin Rojas comes up to us, which later we obviously find out that this nice man, his name is Justin Rojas. And at the time, he was VP of Content and Social, which now he's VP of Events. But at the time, that was his title. And so at first we were like, oh yeah, like we're so excited. Like, we love MV, obviously, like Dallas, we go to UTD. It's just, it just makes sense. And that's why of course we're wearing the jerseys. We were at OP Live, blah, blah, blah. And we just thought it was like the coolest thing ever. Cause there was like me and Eric and like some of us were just like, oh my God, got noticed by an MV person. Like that's crazy. But it was really cool because Justin actually handed us a business card at the very end of that conversation. And so this was basically like it was like the first like stepping stone of like kind of just getting my foot in the door and also understanding like a little bit more just about like esports in general, I feel like. Because at this point, like we were already like kind of just indulged in, like transverse within collegiate like esports. And I didn't really keep too much of like a big hold onto like professional esports because I was so focused on like everything to do with collegiate Overwatch and esports because that was like my main focus and goal. So that was really cool because we got to keep in touch with him. And then me and Eric like established that really nice like networking window with him. And he was always super, super kind. We got to meet Jay Harrison next after this. And he was also really, really nice. Like they both were just really welcoming, very, very just really nice, opening, bright people to talk to. And especially, when you're a fan, like that's what people like. Like I can say that because I came from that. So I try to give people that to them back. And so we established those kind of like talking walls. So we would interact with each other, like me and Eric and Justin and Jay would all like interact with each other on social media and just kind of like check in here or there. And then eventually Jay and Justin invited us to their shadow lunch party in November 2018. It was the very end of November. It was like the last week of November. And so we went, and that was really cool because then we got to meet a lot more people that were to Envy, and then also just kind of just be immersed in that world. And it was like it was really, really cool. I got to literally meet so many people who worked at Envy and so many people who didn't work at Envy. Like a lot of people that were in cosplayers and like just kind of like really cool individuals overall at the shadow lunch party. So that was like kind of another stepping stone was just, networking and kind of just being in the moment and being very like present. I didn't really think much about it because after that, me and Eric like still kept in contact with Justin and Jay, obviously, just like friendly networking. And of course, like we're collegiate students. So anything that we could do to kind of like open that pathway for like collegiate to pro kind of connecting, like we were so excited about because, like we just knew everything about collegiate and it was really freaking cool. And so probably like a few months passed and I didn't really think about it until like I sent Jay an email and I said, or text, one of the two. And I was just like, hey, like if you have any internship positions opening up, just holla, like I'm your girl. Yeah. Like I'd be more than interested. I'd love to send a resume over. I don't have any social media experience at all. Like I wasn't a small community like social media manager. I wasn't like a T3 social media manager, nothing. I sometimes helped Eric out with some of the UTD like esports social media, but that was really it. And I mean, of course, my personal, like that's all the experience I really had.
Yeah.
But my degree I was going to UTD for marketing, which I got obviously, like I got the degree. But like kind of like being like a little bit more creative was obviously my niche and things I was good at. So I get asked a lot, like people are like, oh, did you know you were going to go into social media? And the answer was like, no, I had no idea. Like I couldn't have told you being a junior in college, like what I was going to do after college. I literally had no idea. I just knew I wanted to be in something marketing because it's really diverse. And like you can literally, there's so much, it's such a big funnel. It funnels into so many different things and buckets.
Definitely.
That I knew I'd be good at something, if not almost quite everything, but I probably have like strengths, different areas. But I was like, just something marketing, like I'll do good. Like, something like that.
Yeah, makes sense.
And so probably a couple months later, Jay was like, yeah, like if we do, I'll let you know. And probably like a couple months later, I think around end of March, he messaged me and he was like, hey, we're having a social media coordinator internship position open up at Envy. It'd be really cool. Like you can apply, like send me over your resume and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, whoa, okay, cool. I didn't have any experience again in social media. I really thought I wasn't going to get it. Like I really, really thought I had talked to like pretty much everybody like at school, like UTD sports, like, cause we're all friends, kind of like one big family. And I was like, it'd be really cool, but like, I'm not going to, put all my eggs in one basket because it's probably I'm probably not going to get chosen. And so I go and I interview. And
there's the guest on the, you have the cat, I have the dog in the background. Cappy loves to make a guest appearance on the show.
We love that.
Go ahead.
What's up, little guy? I know, that's why, sorry, my cat does too. So I'm like, whoo. And so I interviewed, and then, of course, it's like, well, we're going to be interviewing other candidates and we'll let you know a decision by the end of I think next week or something like that. So end of next week was the end of a Friday, of course, usually, because that's when businesses decide to make hiring decisions, of course. And that same Friday, we were actually at another LAN for UTD. And it was actually one that UTD was hosting because it was at their esports summit in Dallas. It was hosted at the Mavs Gaming Center. So we had a really busy day. Like I probably got there around like 6:30 a.m. or 7 a.m., something like that, I think. Anyways, it was a really busy day. And, being there for the team. And then I get a text from Jay and he's like, oh, you got it, and put like a little like party emoji. And I was just like, is this a prank?
Is it a prank?
Is this a prank? I was like, I've never been, texted before that I got the job. So I was like, is he pranking me, or is just like a...
That'd be such a screwed up prank.
I know, but I really didn't know like what else, because I was like, because usually people like email. So I really thought that was like a really nice way to kind of tell someone anyways, because it kind of opens like that level of like casual conversation, right? So it kind of made it feel like more like kind of like a friend networking than just like absolute, like LinkedIn professional talk where, so it was really cool because it's like, it just made it feel that much more warm, welcoming. And I was like, no way. Okay. I was like, holy shit. Oh my God, I got it. Like, and at this point I had been, doing two jobs I was doing liquor tastings and then UTD esports. And I, at first, for a second, didn't know if I could like balance all three. I was like, I really don't know if I can do like all three of these jobs at once, including full-time school. Right. Cause that's like it. And it was crazy. It definitely had my moments where I was just like, I'm going to rip my hair out. Oh my God. But because at first I was like, I mean, I got it, right? So I should probably take it. But there was like, I kid you not, there was a second where, okay, sorry, cats, they like to make guest appearances.
All good.
Where I thought that maybe I shouldn't take it because I'll be too busy. And that was probably the stupidest thing I could have thought. Obviously I took it and I did it, but it was just like, I was like, why did I ever think that? Even though it was a lot. It was a lot of work. Everything at once was a lot of work, but it was totally, totally worth it, obviously, in the end. And that's basically how it happened. So here I am.
Awesome. Well, I'm curious, did you ever find out why specifically they chose you? Like you said, you didn't have any social media experience. It was kind of a long shot. Like from your perspective, did anyone ever tell you when that decision to pick you over maybe other quote unquote more qualified candidates?
I don't exactly remember if I was like directly told of why I was chosen. I
Yeah.
remember in my interview distinctively them asking me, because I got interviewed by Jay and Justin, and I remember distinctively them asking me if I had social media experience, because obviously it wasn't on my resume. And I had said, obviously no. The only thing I really do have is like my personals, which they're friends with me on, and then of course like UTD when I help Eric, and like that's really it. So which, and I obviously completely honest, because I didn't have any experience, and I'm sure there's probably other people who did. And I think part of the reason maybe like why they chose me was well, I think for like the diversity of it. I wouldn't say this is like the number one factor, but I think it adds a contributing factor that I was when I got hired, I was the second female at MB at the time.
Okay.
In the org. So I think probably to add like a little diversity. I also can learn really fast. I made that abundantly clear to them like 8,000 times. I was like, I work hard. I'm a really fast learner. Like, I don't, like I'm willing to kick booty. I was like, I want to, let's kick booty. And I think I was just like I think confident too. And just kind of everything that I told them to in my interview. Cause I was like, I'm willing to learn everything and anything that I need to know for the position, of course, because social media really is, it's a lot of information that it's revolving. It changes when it revolves a lot too, of course. So it's nothing that you learned last month. It can change in a day. Right. So, I think probably that had something to do with it. Like both of those kinds of things. I was like, I kind of was really confident in my interview, and I was just like, I can do this. Like, I don't have any experience, but I could be good at it, and I can do this. It's an internship, right? So it's like, I guess we both learn, from internships, like both parties. And then of course, I think just probably helping, and three things, probably having the connection to collegiate esports probably helped too, because we did eventually get involved with them furthermore. And of course, other universities and school districts now. And interns! Hi, Justin. Hi, Nut. And then of course, being a girl. And I don't think that's bad to say, but I think I know that it was, it was talked about that it's just good to have more diversity on teams. And especially, I think maybe in the DFW area, like there's not a lot of probably females like really involved in esports a lot. Like, like there's, and I think probably, I don't know if they had interviewed any other females, but maybe it was just like the luck of the draw. But but I don't know. I hope that's a good answer.
Yeah, no, awesome. Great answer. Now, what were those first few months like coming in with minimal experience and kind of learning on the fly? How was that?
It was good, but it really was a lot. Like, if you think about it, like being like a marketing student already, you can kind of basically apply like that basic kind of connection and communicating knowledge that you have and apply that into social media. Because if you think about it, like social media it's communication, marketing is communication, and you market and you communicate every single day of your life, So how do you think about that like onto like in a deeper level where you're communicating with different fan bases, of course, per se. My project was Fuel at the time, of course. That's what I first got put onto. And then like being able to take those basic skills and like marketing and just kind of like put that towards how to talk to people, like an audience and a fan base, and knowing what they like and then being successful at it, right? So the first few months was kind of just like that. It was really trial and error, especially for me, because I would post things and then I would learn whether or not the community liked it or not,
Yeah.
Like it was really getting a feel because it was really good. Well, for me, especially because I probably started taking over the Fuel account 3 months in my internship, like all of it, majority at least. And it really was just kind of like, all right, trial and error. Like I gotta, kind of find out what really is like the niche that like the community, the Fuel community, what do they like, and how do they like it, and does this like settle well with them, or do you think this funny, or is this not funny? And especially 2 weeks after I got hired, we had the first homestand.
Okay.
And I was so busy. Like I didn't run any of the socials that day, really. I think I just engaged with people and responded to fans, like on the accounts, but I didn't like post anything like I did last year at our other homestand. And that was like, these are like two different types of busy, but I was more kind of like on event side, because this is when Justin Rojas was kind of transitioning into VP at events. So only being 2 weeks there as an intern, and we had the first homestand like ever in esports. So it was crazy, right? It was crazy. And I was like kind of basically a little bit in charge of like the brand ambassadors, because we hired a bunch of people in DFW to come in and help us out. And we do that every homestand. It's really cool because we get to, like get people all like ages and like from different schools or people not in school anymore and things like that. Just very awesome like esports fans, and they get to have a chance to like work with an org, and that was really cool. And I got to meet a lot of really cool people that way, like all the brand ambassadors. But basically it was just like what I had to do was just like kind of set up, like tear down, run around, communicate, just to kind of like people like on our team and make sure everything was like running smoothly at the event. And I have never done that before. So that was stressful.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It was a lot. And I was like, oh my God. And especially like they have been working on this for, so many months. And I just like was just only there for a couple weeks. Yeah, like no pressure. And I was just like, because there's definitely certain things like I didn't know, and I would have to ask people, and I felt bad asking, because I know like every employee right now is just running around like crazy and very busy, and but it was hard because it's like like taking like 6 months worth of work and trying to like cram it into the first like week and a half, 2 weeks that I was there. It was a lot. So so the first few months were good. It was just like a bunch of learning curves for sure, and I think that's what internships are in general, which is really good, especially when you try out something new, regardless if it's an internship, whether it's just anything in life, right? Something new is just, there's always learning curves. And you get to learn from them, and that's a beautiful thing. So
definitely. Now, when you were kind of testing out different pieces of content, different types of content on the Fuel account, how did you go about doing that? Was it more so just by feel, like you posted something, kind of saw, okay, this went pretty well, I think, so I'm gonna do more of it? Or were you like, were there certain numbers and metrics you were looking at? What was the approach there?
So for me, I did it by feel, for sure. Yeah. And I would come up with something, and I would think it was funny, or I would think, this would be something good to post, and I would post it, and it typically would do pretty well. I probably sometimes in the beginning definitely posted some cheesy things, like some cheesy memes that, just like, that could have been better. Yeah. It could have been better, but like, it was like definitely like beginner memes.
On the topic of memes too, like, sorry to cut you off there, but on the topic of memes, you have me. I think you make memes like in your bio, like that's like it's clearly stated in your bio. So I assume you're an expert on this. What goes into a good meme, and like when do you know when to take part in a meme and when to kind of sit out? Because like a few weeks ago we had the Bernie meme going around literally everywhere. Now it's the Weekend meme. From yesterday with him running through like the maze or whatever it was at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
How do you know like when to like take part, when to kind of like, yeah, we're not going to touch that? What's your thought process there?
This one's a good one, because memes, either there's two different types of memes. There's ones that where you just like think of it right away and it just hits you and you're like, yes, this is it. Like, this is gold. And then there's the other memes that actually take a lot of thought process, and those are the ones that are usually the hardest. Can come out really good, but they're usually the hardest because it's like that's when all those thoughts kind of go in. You're like, okay, well, does it make sense? Is this relevant? Like, what could possibly be like the caption, or what is the relevancy to like what we're posting it about, right? And does it offend people, right? You don't want to ever offend people.
That's an important one. I think a lot of people overlook that one. Like, if it can be misinterpreted, it probably will be by someone.
Yes, that's definitely a big thing, especially like I feel like the Fuel and just Overwatch community in general, like you don't want to just upset anybody, because everyone, it's a very good feely community. So like, because if you think about it the wrong way or post about it the wrong way, someone could definitely get offended, and that's the last thing you want, because you're like, no, like, this is Overwatch, and like it's an inclusive community. You know, you want to make sure that everyone feels included, no one feels left out or feels like they're getting attacked or offended by anything that you post, of course. So definitely a lot of thought process, like, will someone get offended by this? Can this be wrongly interpreted? Because I feel like, especially in my early days of memeing, I really only memed on my personal account, but that's what a lot of people, you know, do, like, who don't even work in social media. A lot of people just post memes to their personal account. And they're usually really funny, but there's just like some things you cannot ever post to like a brand account kind of meme. You know what I'm saying? You're like, whoa, that's horrible. You're like, funny, but horrible. Like, what? Oh my God. Like something like that. So like memes definitely take, like, for instance, I just kind of posted one. I posted one before this. I actually scheduled it earlier today to post tonight. Like the Butler meme, like that oh my God, Bugs Bunny. Butler meme that's like resurfaced and it's making its rounds again on the internet. Well, I saw it and I was like, this could be something. I thought about it for a second. I was like, this could be something really good for a field meme. And I was like, holy moly, like Bob has a Butler skin. I was like, if we put Bob on the meme, it, you know, I was like, boom, like something like easy like that. Like, you know, like, and it's really nice. It doesn't offend anybody or anything. And especially I think in pop culture, like the Winkin meme that's going around right now, it's like, it literally works for anything, right? Just anything in life. Obviously, you've seen like your feed was clogged last night with like 25 different back to back like memes.
Could not escape it.
Literally anything you could think of, there was a meme for it, right? So it's like pop culture memes like that, you really can't escape because they're just too good to like not share. But there's definitely like certain ones that can be iffy, and usually if they're iffy, like under any manner, you have to. Like they have to go out. Like you can't think about that. But I definitely think like the best ones like on site, you know, you're like, oh, that's perfect. Or that would be good. Even if you're like, maybe it doesn't come out as good as I hoped it would. But those are usually the best ones in my opinion.
Yeah, my question is though, who gave Justin the green light to post that one on the Empire account a few days back?
The Express tweet?
I don't know if it was. It probably was the one that's like the typical Justin down bad tweet that made it somehow onto Empire.
It was great because it was so funny that day. We were like, all right, today's the day. Justin's posting the tweet. We knew everyone was gonna laugh their asses off, right? Of course. But we literally like that day, like couple hours before it went out, we were like, all right, today's the day. Like the down bad tweet goes up on Empire. Like
how long was that scheduled for? Like a week? Like what was that like?
You know what's funny? I think we talked about a lot of those because they're just hilarious. And obviously Justin is so funny. And like Justin has the hilarious down bad personal branding, and you can't
everyone's doing it
to
now.
Laugh at it. Yeah, exactly. And you can't help but to laugh at it. And so probably for like I feel like a couple weeks we kind of like, especially like probably Zach threw around the idea a little bit, and then like we were all like, yeah, that's funny, right? And then like kind of played it off, didn't talk about it too terribly much, and then we were like, all right, this should be a good strategy, like you should do it, like Justin, you're doing it, and then this is it, and then here we are. But it was so funny because it did really good.
Yeah, no, it did well. Do you think
did so well.
Do you think that's one of those that like you'll post once and then kind of like not go back to that format, or do you think it did so well that it's worth going back to once in a while?
I think it's worth going back to once in a while. Like it's funny because I think everyone was just like, oh my God, like when we did it, because everyone was like, the pistachio has been here. Like he has left his mark, right? Like he's left his legacy. Like this is it right here. And it did so well that obviously if we don't like overuse it, it'll be really, really good for that Empire fan base because they really enjoyed it. So I think it's definitely something we'll revisit in the future.
Awesome. Well, definitely looking forward to that. In terms of just overall posts in general, not just memes, but what does that process look like? Thinking of posts, obviously some are going to be more kind of on the fly. You think of something that's good and it goes up. Some are, like you said, more thought out and planned and calculated. what does that process look like, taking an idea for social from just a brand new concept to on the Twitter timeline or on the Instagram feed?
Actually, this is really interesting because there's a few different processes, I would say. And if Justin's still watching, like, obviously he can vouch for this. But if we see something that we like from other brand accounts, or just maybe just anything that we like on the internet in general, we like to share it with each other, obviously. Like, that's what we do all day. We're just like, this is funny, or this is good, or like, this is a really nice like style or something like that. Like, and we'll share it because that way it can kind of just like spark creativity in our brains. And we're like, we could spin this off into something that we can make for Envy or Empire or Fuel. So that's like one process that we have. So we actually we share it, a bunch of those throughout the day. And then the ones that we actually sit down, like engagement ideas, we actually sit down and we have a brainstorm every week where we talk about things that are upcoming or things that we kind of like want to do or see from our 3 brands. It's basically like our time to sit there and be like, so what can we make next week or this week that's just going to be great and like hilarious, or like really engaging, or just like really hits the mark, right? And we do that, and we actually have a few different spreadsheets and documents that literally, it's called the vault, and that's where all of like anything idea wise, it goes there for all 3 brands. Between that and a Discord channel that we have, those 2 definitely get utilized, because if we don't automatically post the thoughts or the tweets or the posts right off the bat that we think of like in our head, we jot them down, because like if you don't, you usually forget them, and like they can always be really helpful in the future. And that's something we actually just started like formally more so within the last few months, which has been super, super helpful, because now we finally have this like nice condensed place of just like amazing thoughts that we can bounce off of each other and see like where it works and like what can work for an event coming up, or like something that happened on the internet, or like pop culture and etc. So it's that. And then once we find that thought, we'll just like share it with each other, and we'll be like, what do you think? And then we're like, all right, that's good, ship it. Or like, oh, it needs fine tuning, or like maybe we should wait, things like that. So that's basically the process.
Gotcha. What has there been any content pieces that surprised you? Like you kind of put it out thinking, okay, this might do okay, but like I don't think it's gonna do like amazing, but then just took off. Not counting the Justin down bad tweet.
There's a few. I'm trying to think at the top of my head, but there's a few that I'm like, whoa, like that banged.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly. Oh, okay. There was one like in December where I realized that a lot of the pictures that people were posting of like Roadhog's new Winter Wonderland event skin, the snowman in the back, like one was melting. And I was like, bruh, I've seen this. I looked at this screenshot a few times, and I was like, how did I not realize there's a snowman melting in the back, and there's like 2 snowmen next to him trying to like help him out. And they're like panicking. Like they're like, oh no. And I was like, that is so funny. And I was like, I didn't see any other teams or really anybody like pointed out. And so I posted it. And at first I was like, guys, this is funny. I was like, the Overwatch community would like this. But I was like,
yeah.
But, like I have an idea of like what we could post it, but like I need help a little bit, like fine tuning the copy for it. And so we posted it, and it was like, always check on your homies and make sure if they're melting. And so,
that's hilarious.
And I put the pensive emoji and everything, so it definitely looked like, like a little like a sad boy, sad girl tweet, but it did really well. Like people thought it was really funny, and I was like, oh my god, like because usually the tone of Fuel is not really like always sad; it's much more happy. So when that happened, it was funny because it was just like, all right, like it kind of plays into each other, right? So it worked. It was funny. And then,
awesome.
Yeah, there's definitely other ones that we're like, whoa, that banged, but I can't really like exactly think of the top of my head. I posted one that was like delete Brig, and I knew it was gonna bang, and it banged. it really
Nice.
banged, but I was really nervous
Yeah.
like pressing that send button because I was like, please, Overwatch, please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Yeah.
Do you get any hate on the Fuel account? Because I feel like it's too nice to hate. Like the brand voice is so like cheery and positive. Like how could anyone possibly reach out with hate messages or like leave troll comments?
A lot of people actually do leave troll comments. And I guess it's probably slowed down right now, probably because of like off season in general. But
Yeah.
there's just people who really don't like Envy as an org, which is fine. I mean, there's people who don't like, you know, everyone has someone that they don't like, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes people will comment on stuff like today. Like someone commented, oh yeah, I tweeted this morning and it was just like about Overwatch League 2021 with like all the 3 thought bubbles. And someone commented, oh, until you guys lose the shock again for the 3rd year in a row or something like that. And like, I responded with like a sad, mad face, you know? And I was like, huh, okay. Like, but people like love, you know, to troll because they have teams they don't like. And sometimes like random trolls like that, we get trolled every day. I'm sure every org does, to be honest. But I guess when things like when you have big announcements that a lot of the community doesn't agree with, people like last fall, we had a few of those. We definitely got a lot of hate messages then.
Got you.
So yeah, that was hard. That was a hard time.
Yeah.
But
how do you deal with that as like the social media manager? Because obviously like they're not directed at you as a person, but I can imagine that can still get pretty draining, like reading those, especially during a period where there's a lot of them coming in.
Yeah. And so I'm coming up on 2 years at Envy in April, and I've seen a lot of troll, a lot of hate messages. I usually like to play into the troll messages just to have fun with them. Before I never did because I thought like, oh, maybe that's bad, I shouldn't do that. But now I kind of like realize it's kind of fun, like responding to people who are like trolling, because it's like we've always been like a really happy kind of like funny, humorous, like tone voice. We've just kind of shifted it over to like more happy, and it actually. So I built like a really nice backbone. Eventually, because at first, like especially when I first started working, I was like, wow, like, oh my god, how can these people, say certain things? And then I think people don't realize a lot of the time they're not just speaking to like a brand account, like they're not like speaking to like someone who makes all those decisions or things like that. Like they're speaking to somebody who is probably the only person who reads these messages, right? Because I never really, if they won't make it past the social media manager most of the time, like most of the time. Obviously, the hate messages will never make it past the social media manager.
Yeah.
But like, other messages we deem necessary obviously will, but like hate ones do not. And so I don't think people like also like realize half the time like certain things that they say, like it's falling on deaf ears because like I social media managers they don't make those decisions. And also it's really
sign this player.
Yeah. Or they're like, why would you do that? And it's like, I don't even know if like, like I can't help you. And like, I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know. And it's really, it was really hard at first when I first joined MB, because I was like, wow, this is like really mean, and like someone told me was like, you'll develop a thick skin like really fast. And I did eventually. But sometimes there are days when there are certain situations that have happened that it did get really hard. Mental health is really important, and I think that's also why I put such a bigger, happier tone shift with Fuel the last like 10 months, because I realized that within certain communities, and especially I think just video gaming as a whole, that there's so much like negativity and just toxicity within generalization and just everything like on the internet, that it would probably just be better, like even if people think it's cringe, that to spread like a little bit more positivity, or kind of just help people how like something that they probably heard in a month or two, or have been thinking about like down on themselves. Because for someone who works in social media, like I felt that way, from like my job. And I'm being completely transparent. I know there's like a lot of people out there who probably have felt the same way. But it kind of just stinks, because you're just like, wow, like there's really nothing that I can do. Like it's out of your control by that point, and all you can like really do is just try to like build up that community and that fan base again. Because what hurts the most, it's like, well, they're not talking to you, but I think what hurts the most was like whenever you try to like put out fires or like deal with like the damage, like damage crisis and things like that, and like crisis resistance or whatever. It's like you work so hard to build up this community and create a safe haven and a warm and welcoming fan base and audience for everyone that comes to your page. And you always try to be positive or try to post memes or try to make people laugh, and then it can get like crushed within a second due to something completely outside social media itself, right? And I think that was what was difficult when I like realized that, because I was like, dang. But it makes it worth it because some people know that too, and they're like, sorry, social media manager, it's not you. And I'm like, all right, this is good. They know, So I'm like, hey, some people know. And I think a lot more as time goes on, people have kind of realized that too. They're like, sorry, social media manager, like not you. And I'm like, that's good. It's good. But it just stinks because you're like, I don't want people to like unfollow us or, hate us or leave or anything like that. Because it's like, I love like every single person with like my whole heart. And I tried to like outpour that, obviously like from the Fuel tone voice, just try to like make sure everyone feels included and feels like they're loved, and they have a safe space for gaming, and that they have a community that they can always be a part of, even when like crap hits the fan, right? Like, even if it's nothing to do with like really the community, I just always want to make sure like there's people like know that like this is a family. It's not just a community; it's like a family. So it stinks whenever like bad things happen, and you're like, oh, you're like, and I'm like, don't leave, You're like, no, you're like, don't leave. So
makes sense. Well, on a more positive note, though, I think you've done a really good job of defining that brand voice and like really dialing it in. Like, I don't know particularly what it was like beforehand, so we can talk about that a little bit more here. But like, what was the evolution of the Fuel brand voice and how you kind of came up with that? You had mentioned that you wanted to create a more like a happier environment. But what did that process look like? And also something that was interesting to me was like, the Fuel and the Empire have very distinct brand voices. Like the Empire doesn't really lean into the happy, cheery, like sort of attitude that the Fuel has. So the second part of that question, what went into the decision to have those two very distinct brand voices? Like, was that a purposeful thing, or did it just kind of happen?
So for Empire, definitely was purposeful at first. We obviously, within marketing and social media, I'm sure every org does this as well, but you have to establish those brand voices, right? Like it needs to be established. It's got to be like in a deck. It's got to be, in a document. It's got to be like on paper, and it's got to be established. So with Empire, when we launched Empire, we knew what brand voice we wanted to strive for. But actually, I don't know if a lot of people have like noticed too, but Empire's actually had a really big tone shift since we first launched Empire. And for the better, because at first Empire was very like the Call of Duty voice brand. So it was like very just like kind of cut and dry, just like the COD community is, cut and dry. Yeah. But then we started playing like into more meme for Empire. So it's very serious, but still meme, right? Yeah. But it plays very well for the COD and the Empire community, because that's what the COD community likes. And, and anytime like you can like make a funny jab, it's gold to like every single COD fan. Like people love that. Yeah. They love that hype.
Yeah. Especially this past week, there was some drama with like with Krim, and I forget who it was, but I can imagine with Krim on the roster, there's quite a bit of that.
Yeah. So definitely we started playing a lot into that the last almost a year now, I think. So for Empire, we leaned more into kind of having fun with it, but still being like very serious as needed. And obviously Zach and Justin really do a good job at that. I'm better at the memes when it comes to that, and obviously they are too. So for Empire, it definitely did have like a funnier, humorous tone shift. Still serious, but not as serious as it used to be, which has helped it tremendously. And it's exactly, where we've kind of found and established like that community. So it's been a lot of fun doing that. And then of course, Fuel, at first, I think when I got started, Fuel was always it was professional, but still kind of played into like a lot of memes, but still in more like a professional way, I want to say. Okay. Which isn't like bad. So we still obviously play into memes, but I think we've kind of just like, and we've never wanted to make it like Fuel. We always knew like Fuel was the brand that it's not going to be a bot. It's going to be a human, right? Like no matter what. Mm-hmm. And that's how it is for all three of our brands. But when I first got brought on, that was just like, like human for Fuel. And a lot of the times, especially like whenever you start in social media, I feel like sometimes you might like overthink about what you say or what you post and how do you respond to people. And that can be a barrier to actually just going and doing it, right? Instead of just being like, I'm just gonna like let it fly. And a lot of that I think happened with Fuel at first. So where it was just like much more professional, where we didn't always engage with people, but we still were humans in a way, but still memed. But I think, honestly, for that tone shift had a lot to do with, well, number one, obviously how Fuel's performance was. A lot of people were not happy with it. We couldn't be, like, I guess cocky is the word, right, on social media because we didn't have trophies or really anything to show for that, right? So it wasn't like we just couldn't do that. It wasn't the move, right? So we couldn't like play into like that really confident role all the time, because after about the third time of confidence and having a really bad season, it was just like people were just like so sick of it, like from like the Fuel. People just like, like you guys were supposed to be good and you're bad. So like, what's going on? Even though we weren't bad, we were just like mediocre. So, gotcha. And we had really good players. It was just mediocre, like together. That's all. And but there's nothing bad with like wrong with that. Everyone goes through that. That's esports. Yeah. That's video games for you in general. But for that, I feel like the tone shift had a lot to do with performance, like really overall, and kind of like tapping into like how we wanted to treat our fan base and how like we wanted to captivate them as well. So we knew that like, oh, we'll get them next time. Like it was just an old story, that it was just an old record, a broken record that has been played and played and played. So I think we kind of dropped a little bit more out of competitiveness from the Fuel voice. Instead of being so competitive, we needed to be more community inclusive and driven and focused, right? Because for 3 years, it wasn't working for us anymore. It just wasn't. And like, people don't want to, people of course want to be like, oh yeah, it's going to get better, but they don't want to hear it. They want to see it. And whenever you play into that too much, it's not fun for the fans anymore, and they're not having fun. So that's why like Fuel performance. And then definitely after like some pretty crazy announcements that we've had, I was like, I don't want anyone to ever feel like, like down when they're on the internet or like looking at our page. I don't want anyone to ever feel like that we're a broken record. I was like, I really want to like change it up and spice it up into something that the Fuel community will really like something that, because I speak it from my heart, because I literally talk to them like how I would talk to my friends. Like I literally just type it out, and I'm just super casual with it, and it's really worked for us too. And I think too with Empire, it's really worked like that way as well. So we've had some really, really good tone shifts. And Envy's had a tone shift too. It's just been more memes.
Okay. I was going to ask what the brand voice for that account was. To be honest, I haven't spent a whole lot of time looking at the parent account, but
so you'll see Envy's more memey. It's got a really good, like Empire's like, I think we're good now. Empire's like super like motivational, like they want to win. Like that is the COD community, right? Like everyone wants to believe that they're the best, like that they are the best, right? And so that is the Empire tone, and it plays well because it's like we secured that, so now we can actually tap into that because we are champs, like we won. And then Envy is a nice balance between Empire and Fuel, in my opinion.
Okay.
So it's like the really nice guy, but who's also like serious, but in like a really good memey fun way, right?
What was funny to me was, I think it was on Justin's interview. He had said that the Empire brand voice was kind of modeled after Illy. Is there truth to that?
There is truth to that. I would definitely say Illy is just he's really he's all about the grind, like the work, right? And so that's what Empire, like that's the tone of Empire, like grind, put in the work, grind, go do that. You can do it. Like that's the model. And that's definitely how Illy is in general, because when they compete, Illy is just like head down, laser focused, like, you know, and he makes incredible plays, and he definitely is a really big meme to our team too, like the Pope and everything else.
Yeah.
So shout of course you have shout out Illy. Yes, right. So it's a really big motivation, because it's like Empire is that, right? Of course, because Empire technically is its players, you know, for a year too, and you have to play into that, and Illy helps with that for sure.
Yeah. Now, the last major thing I want to talk about before we start to wrap up is just like community engagement. Because I think, especially on the Fuel account, like you've done a really good job. Like just looking at the replies, like literally almost every reply, at least if it's positive, there's a reply to it. So like, how much time do you spend per day going through replies, engaging with the community, and just speak a little bit on the importance of that in a social strategy? I think a lot of people get caught up on like the content formats and like making sure you get a lot of retweets and likes, but then don't spend any time in the comments actually engaging with their fan base.
So this is so incredibly important. It's so important. I've always engaged with people since I've started. Like I've always responded to people and reply, but I think within the last few months, I've definitely I've taken upon myself to reply to everybody, like for the majority of them, like everyone, every single person for the most part.
Yeah.
Beforehand, I would always like every single positive comment or response. And then would reply to like probably like a couple handfuls. But now I try to take it along the liberty and just reply to everybody. I think it's really important because it kind of plays into, it doesn't kind of play, it does play. It plays a lot into being that human voice, and you're not just a robot. Like this is not just like a company, you know, like being like, buy our soap. I mean, we don't sell soap, but, you know, something like that.
MV soap coming soon. It's a leak. Heard first here.
Some body wash, some dry shampoo for the ladies. You feel hygiene line.
There you go.
No, but it's so important because it's like there's a person on the other side of that screen, and I think more people realize that that's an actual truth to it. I feel like some people, like I said earlier, just think they're not talking to an actual person. They kind of just think they're talking to a screen. And when you respond to them, it's so human that they're like, oh my God. And it makes them feel special too. Like, I can't tell you how many people like I'll respond to all the time. And they're like, oh my God, I can't believe you responded. Or, wow, like this is the nicest thing ever. Like you're the only, like, oh God, this has happened so many times, especially on Instagram. We'll be put in DMs, group DMs, so many of them, and then my phone starts blowing up, okay? Especially on Facebook, because it's connected to Facebook. It's always Facebook, I'm telling you. And they'll add like every single Overwatch League. This happens on Twitter sometimes too, but it's mainly Instagram too. They'll add every single Overwatch League team like in a DM, and they're like, all right, let's see who replies first. Like, go. And sometimes we'll get single DMs too that'll be like, I sent this to every single Overwatch League team and you were the only ones to respond, or like the first ones to respond. And I think there's a lot of like strength in that, because people are like, whoa, like if they feel like they have that human connection, then they're going to want to be able to be more of a fan and more, you know, captivated by you and your brand, and feel like they probably have a place in the community, right? It's so important, because not just obviously for the algorithm, because the more you actually engage with people and respond to them, they stay in the algorithm. So not only is it really good for your metrics, but I think with that, again, that human emotional touch is really important. And I think that goes for, it doesn't matter what brand it is. That's Fuel, like Empire, Envy. Like once someone like feels like they've been seen or they've been heard, that's really important for them, because like esports is such a competitive space, and video games are in general, where everyone wants to make it to the top. And if they don't want to make it to the top, they want to be involved and they want to be working in it, or they want to know someone, you know, And if they feel like they got that human interaction from, you know, someone they either look up to or somebody really big, like the envy fuel empire, then they're going to stay and they're going to highlight on that. And it's so important. It is so important. It is so much more important than the content you push out. I swear.
That's going to be a clip, because that needs to be heard by a lot of people. A lot of people, like I was saying, get too caught up in like the likes and the retweets and the whatever metric you look at, followers, and don't spend any time in the community. Like I think like
so important.
Even not even with orgs, but players, like there's such a missed opportunity there, because a lot of them, they're really good at using Twitter, like engaging with other players and like engaging with like known personalities in the space. But I feel like they're not the best at like going into the comments or the replies of their posts and just engaging with the random fans. I think that's like the next step there. Because I think especially in the COD community, players are really good about being active on social, but I still think there's room there to be more active with their fan base, even if it's just like 5 minutes a day replying to like 10 people per day. Like you said, that'll make their day and like blow someone's mind. Like, holy crap, Scump just replied to me. Like that's insane.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, stuff like that it's absolute. Yeah, it's mind blowing to a lot of fans. It would definitely do a lot of them justice if they did, of course. It would just like it just. I feel like that's like the pillar, really, honestly, like engagement, because you wouldn't have a community, right, if you didn't like have those fans, and you want to be able to show them that you have like what's the word? I have it in my head. Hold on. You want to show them that you have value, right? So you can talk to them.
Yeah.
So you're not just like another org that you're just like, oh yeah, check out this tweet, but you're like someone that's actually like actively responding to them, or like actually like taking the time to speak to them and talk about their day. Feeling it, Trugers. Heart. I feel like in the COD community it could definitely get better. I feel like some of the guys probably feel like they're so busy though.
Yeah, you know? That's the thing. I mean, that's scrims. They have like content obligations with their orgs. I get it. Like, it's not coming from a place of like, oh, you need to do this, but it'd be cool to see more.
Super helpful. Yeah, people. Yeah, I will say, I guess if people like really think about it, because I feel like also a lot of pros in general may not even understand the depth of the impact that they have on communities as a whole, and they don't. I'm telling you right now, there are people out there, there's a lot of pros who literally do not know the value that they hold and also the impact that they can have on people. And they're not aware of that. And I think if they actually just sat down with themselves and think about it, like, I am a key figure in this sport or in this org, and like, I have all of these people who follow me and root for me and cheer for me every single day. And if they actually thought about it and they actually took the time to engage with them, it would probably be a game changer. But I think a lot of them just don't have the time, and nor like probably the mental capacity after having like 12-hour scrim days, basically sometimes, and doing that. So I think it just kind of just really depends, but something, I think everyone should do it. Everyone should do
it. Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. Let's see. There was one more question I wanted to ask you before the last question. I'm like totally blanking on it though.
Go for it.
Shoot, I literally had it in my head like 20 seconds ago. Yeah, no, it's gone. But it's okay. It's all good. But for the last question today, unless the other one comes back in my mind, but for the last question today, do you drink coffee? And if so, how do you drink your coffee?
Oh, I love coffee. Well, today I only had like 1/4 of a cup, so that sucked. But I love coffee. Sometimes I have like 2 cups. It really just depends. This is gonna sound so weird. I like to drink it either black or like really sugary. Well, not really sugary, I guess. I don't really put sugar in it at home, but if I go to Starbucks, I'm either gonna get it like a cold brew, or I'm gonna get like something like a sugary ass latte. And I shouldn't, but I'm gonna, because it's Starbucks. But at home, I'll put like some creamer and then some whipped cream and then a little bit of like pumpkin pie spice on top. It's either that or black. Those two. Yeah.
Cool. I respect it. I'm a cold brew person myself. I
love cold brew.
I think my audience is like sick and tired of me saying that on literally every podcast episode, but it's
like
worth repeating.
Everyone's like, Tommy likes cold brew. We get it.
Just like that,
I
just
love
like
cold
being
brew
down
too.
bad is kind of Justin's personal brand.
Yeah,
My
you
obsession
like
with caffeine and cold brew is going to become mine.
I love that. All right. Well, if you do it, I'm doing it too.
There you go.
Cold brew gang.
Awesome. Now, what I think the question came back. I was going to ask, what are some future plans for either the social accounts for MV, Empire, and Fuel, or just content in general? Like today, we saw the first episode of that new content series go out. I think it was a great video. Watched it right before hopping on.
Oh, you did? Okay, good. It was funny.
Is there more stuff like that? Anything you can share? I know there's probably some top secret things we can't talk about, but from what you can share, what are some future plans for you guys?
I mean, I definitely have an NDA, so I can't like be like, oh yeah, like check this out. We definitely have
just
a lot of cool things.
real quick. It's fine.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot of cool things coming up. We created some content plans for the brands for 2021. They're really good. So there's a lot of really freaking cool things that we have planned that will come from all three of the brands. Inside Envy that we just launched today was episode 1. So that means there's more to come. They'll be really cool. We definitely have a lot of really cool new content plans for all three brands that will be kind of kickstarting. This will be pushing out more content than we ever have before, ever, within the next couple of months for all three brands. And that's crazy to say because it's like, wow, like we're at that point now finally where it's just like we're gonna have something so cool to push out like every freaking week. Golden content right there. True.
Yeah.
Inside Envy is gonna be really funny. There's other things that are coming. I can't really say much.
All good. I mean, in return, if you can leak the merch drop date, I think I'll be happy with that. Slightly kidding, slightly not.
Soon, TM.
There we go. Well, Lindsay, I appreciate you hopping on the show. This is a super fun conversation. I can't believe it's already been almost an hour and 10 minutes.
I know. I could talk all night, literally.
Yeah. But no, this was a great episode. I really appreciate you stopping by. Where can everyone keep up with what you have going on with Envy and all those accounts and just your personal content? Like where can people find you?
Okay, sorry. My nose is itching like crazy. My allergies. So my Twitter and my Instagram are just my first and last name. So handle at Lindsay Caudill. That lovely, nice, like little name right there. Yeah, that works for Twitter and that works for Instagram. My TikTok it's okay. It's in the works. Little baby TikTok. It's my first and last name with a dot in the middle. And then I have a little Discord too. If anyone wants to join, it's basically for like, I don't know, anything and everything, just positive reinforcement, good mornings, and when I stream. So I also have one of those. And you can add me on LinkedIn too. You can add me on LinkedIn. Just search
I need to be more active on there. That's like the one platform.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I know. I'm not that active on LinkedIn either. I don't know. I like LinkedIn, but I'm not the type of person that I'm going to post like a motivational quote every day for LinkedIn audiences. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
At least I could be, but I'm just, I'd rather do it to like on
post
Twitter.
Memes.
Yeah. No, do not post irrelevant memes on LinkedIn.
I saw you post something saying that like LinkedIn is not Twitter. So I figured that's what you're probably referring to.
I was like,
some people heard a very prominent someone say LinkedIn is the new Facebook and took that a little bit too seriously.
Yeah, I've heard that too, but I think it's literally because people are trying to make it Facebook and it's just not. It's never going to be Facebook. Yeah. And like employers look at that all the time.
Yeah.
And they look at your socials all the time. Like if you're applying to a job, you will be looked at on all three. So trust me, you don't need to post the Twitter stuff on LinkedIn. They will see it on Twitter.
Got you. Awesome. Well, Lindsay, thanks again for stopping by. Is there anything else you want to say to the audience? Anything else you want to plug, or are we all good?
Yeah. Sorry. I'm itching my nose so much. It's really
okay. I was dealing with like insane allergies. Luckily, they kind of passed at this point, but like the past
last week and a half,
2-3 weeks, it's been
crazy.
Terrible.
It's been crazy for me too. So I feel that I'm like my nose is freaking itching like crazy. I want to say thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to my journey, my story. I can't I can't wait to like connect more and do more. And everybody always has a place in our community, no matter who you are, where you're from, anything. Like, you're always welcome to all of our communities. And I hope you find a home here. Yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Love it. Awesome. So guys, thanks so much for tuning in, making it all the way till the end. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, found it valuable. If you did, if you're on YouTube, I'd really appreciate you dropping a like and subscribing. Almost at the 50 sub mark. So little by little, baby steps, climbing up there.
Oh yeah, like, comment, subscribe.
What she said. And if you're on Twitch, hit the follow button. I think I
drop a sub, share some bits.
Yeah,
show your boy Tommy C some love.
Do all the things. And then, of course, if you enjoyed it, go ahead and share it on your Twitter timeline, wherever you share things. And I'd really appreciate that. But thanks, guys, for tuning in. And I will see you in the next episode.